As Imam Hassan,
had he been one of Khulafai Rashidin, he could never have abandoned his Khilafat.
but that was a reason for it.
No reason whatsoever.
Because our Holy Prophet, peace and blessing of God be upon him, prophesied that after me the Khilafat will remain for 30 years. And after 6 months of his Khilafat, this 30 years was completed.
That is all right, but what I mean to say is, had he been Khalifa Rashid in the sense we take it to be, he could not live beyond Khilafat. That is the point. So Khalifa does never live beyond Khilafat because he is the subordinate of the Prophet who does not live beyond his life in his capacity of office holder. So they exactly tally with each other. Now here we see something very different. So that shows that he occupies an exceptional transition period. So instead, now when it is a transition period, he belongs to two different categories at the same time. So we can't quote him as a clear case. So better not opine on him, because by mistake you may attract Allah's wrath. So things on which you are not very sure what happened, which are enigmatic and perhaps will remain enigmatic, on that better not to open your mouth at all. And now, Bashir Yasar after.
Even still.
No, go there, please. You know I'm going to.
Hazur, even still, I'm ready to wait for a week or two. I don't mind if there is any guest still one class.
You can, as far as asking the question is concerned, you can wait all your life. That opportunity. There you go. But you remain very still and
No, there was a reason for that. When
the reason after question.
Karamat certificate Shamas, they are fingers that kill Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Hazur have written some translation with the help of some people. Should I read that? It may not be my own, but partly my own.
But many times your questions are not your own. Anything is somebody else.
Yes, I still have my own, but anything I always consult. Though power of showing Karamat is not attached with station or heredity, but you may see this power in innumerable servants of Hazrat Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
But who created this? Don't mention.
Should I? Yes. This is a couplet from a poem of Promised Messiah alayhi salam. Would Hazur kindly explain the meaning of Karamat? Secondly, what is the difference between miracle, mu'jiza and Karamat? Should I?
Is that not the same question which you asked about 8 months ago?
My memory is weak. I started again.
It should be that weak.
I started again.
You asked this question about 8 months ago. Go here in this mosque. What is the difference between a Karamat and Mu'jiza? And I answered that question there. You can find the reference. Perhaps you were here.
No, sir, I didn't. It might be a little later.
Maybe after or before. Maybe
yes, sir.
Before. Yes.
My memory is weak. I again started getting information regarding this one.
And again, after some months, you forget. State Department who are cataloging the questions, they would lead you to the right place and inshallah you will hear. And if I have forgotten really, I mean it's possible that I mixed you up for somebody else, but the way you said Karamul reminded me you are the person. Anyway, you'll get the answer anyway.
If this is the answer, then all right.
This is not the answer. You get the answer from the tape. What is
Would Hazur kindly advise us on the origins of Fiqh Hanafiyya and Fiqh Jafriyya, and also kindly explain some of their main differences?
The origins of every fiqh are the same. There is absolutely no difference. They are accepted principles of the world of Islam, that is their scholars, that the fundamentals of Islam are the same without doubt. But how you believe that this belongs to the fundamental or this does not belong to the fundamental, how you differentiate between fundamentals, there the criteria differ. Hazrat Imam Abu Hanifa, Imam Shafi, Imam Malik and the rest, they believe that it has to be a direct line of tradition after the Holy Quran, I mean, which should lead to Hazrat Muhammad Mustafa sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and all the various links between the person who received the tradition and Hazrat sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, all these links should be solid, and the full investigation should be made as to their character and credibility and all that. After everything done, you are left without any doubt that this particular tradition belongs to Muhammad. Then you should rely your judgment on that tradition and infer from that regarding the jurisprudence of Islam. This is the generally accepted principle of the Sunni world. Yet the standards differ. Of course, some Aimma have taken some very weak tradition, weak in the sense as it's used, zaif. And they base their judgment on some zaif ahadith as well. But only because because there is a paucity of traditions on that subject, and they cannot lay their hands onto a more believable, more powerful tradition. So the choice to them is just either to accept a weak tradition and base their judgment on that, or just to give an opinion from themselves. So in these two cases, lesser evil is adopted, and instead of giving their own opinion on the subject, they would rather accept a weak tradition as well. So the principle is not violated. The principle is adhered to as long as they can have access to some powerful, reliable tradition. They would always do that. Otherwise, because there is nothing else in the field, the only available tradition would be accepted. This is the general happening in the world of non-Shia Islam. The Shias have a different way of judging the credibility of a tradition. They say because our Imam are Masoom al-Khata, they cannot commit error, and they are so truthful that it's impossible for them to relate anything to Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam which he never had said. So their criterion is this, that whatever an accepted Imam has related to Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, whether